What's up, world? It is Tuesday. It is your girl, Candy Kaylin,
It's Coco Shikari.
and it's time to pull up.
Love.
Y'all, here on Pull Up the Podcast, we talk about sports news and hip hop. We don't talk about people, we just talk about the headlines.
Right.
Whew. Listen, I had to take a deep breath. Today's show is a little heavy, right? And I feel like I know there's at least four of these that I've reported on since starting the show. And there's one thing that I always tell my mom is that I always wanted to be a reporter, but I didn't want to cover the news.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to cover sports. But now the sports world is even having to cover breaking news of world news. So for those of you who aren't familiar or you're catching this at a different time, actually not too far from me down in Uvalde, Texas, there was a school shooting a few hours ago where there's been reported between 14 and 16 children, as well as a teacher, have been killed by an 18-year-old school shooter who killed his grandmother first. And then it sounds like, from what I read, he ran into the school to take cover. And I'm not believing that he ran in to take cover, and this happened right here at the end of the school year. Okay, now that I got all of that, the president of the United States will be speaking at 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. The vice president of the United States has already given her remarks of we continue to experience heartbreak,
Mm-hmm.
and at some point, someone has to stand up and do something about it. The president is just returning from Asia, so this is a lot to process for him at this point in the day. But just as an American, from someone who was a child, who was a high schooler when Columbine happened, um, the situation in Arkansas happened. I was reading and doing some research, and there was a shooting of a teacher in 1978 in Austin, where the young man was simply given like 18 months in the mental hospital. He's now an attorney here in Austin. So I say these things to say that school shootings are not new to this country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in 1998 when Columbine happened, that wasn't the first time. Or 10 years ago when Sandy Hook happened, that wasn't the first time.
Mm-hmm.
This is not about your Second Amendment right and the right to bear arms for you gun lovers. This is not, excuse me, this is not about that. 18-year-olds should not have the ability to be so comfortable that you can execute
Mm-hmm.
accurately, because you if you've ever held a gun, you got to have some aim. They're not easy to control. So without proper training or being introduced to these machines, you're not able to execute this type of work. You know, we've got to do better as a nation. This is not about your right. This is about children who lost their lives from, when we talk about elementary school, we're talking about from kindergarten to the fifth grade.
Second and third graders. Yep.
This is devastating. This is happening again and again. You know, whether it's a school, whether it's in the grocery store, whether it's in the church, in
Mm-hmm.
the mall, we
Mm-hmm.
are constantly on jobs. Let's talk about in the warehouse. Like, we're constantly seeing these things play out over and over again. Your turn. I'm over it.
I think first of all, this is very sad, but do I think it's gonna stop happening? No, I don't. I think that people are too obsessed with themselves and their quote unquote rights to even want to implement change for other lives, specifically lives that they don't really care about, they don't know about, so they don't really care about other people and the things that are happening to them and the lives that are being lost whatsoever. They don't care. We see it day in and day out, week by week, month by month, not even just in this school shooting, but we see it with the police, we see it with the laws, we see it how our urban city kids are being treated. Like we see it daily, like it's just a daily thing. And something else I think is that they like to like put emphasis on lower income schools, lower income neighborhoods. They want to put metal detectors and extra security at these schools. Okay, but what about these other schools? What about the quote unquote white schools that these shootings are happening at? What about those schools? Did you guys ever think about extra security? Did you guys ever think about different safety precautions? Did you guys think about metal detectors? Like, these things should be considered, yet they are still only considered for inner city schools or lower income neighborhood community schools. So I think that I don't know, I think that it's crazy. I don't think that it's going to stop. I don't think that it's going to stop at all. I think it's going to take someone of importance, I guess, to lose their life or to lose their children's life or their aunt's life, their cousin's life, in order for some change to be implemented. And that has yet to happen. So,
You made a great point. Um, for anybody who's not familiar with Lean on Me and Fair East Side High and Joe Clark, the older I get, I grew up in a suburban neighborhood, and there was no way I was going to school with a metal detector. Okay, had they put metal detectors in the school and I had to be searched, I would have gone to private school. That was my mindset 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago. As a person who is understanding those points that you just made, and I referenced Lean on Me, urban schools were more ahead of the curve, is what it's turning out to be, because they understood danger occurred. And it's usually one-on-one danger in urban or low income neighborhoods is what we want to say, quote unquote. There were never situations where there was one individual coming into the school to shoot the school up. These were isolated events. So now that we go back and we look at it in history, from a perspective as an educator, from a perspective of someone who's heavily involved in politics, the urban schools were ahead of the game.
mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why these things don't happen on urban campuses, because they do go through metal detectors. And working in a school in, let me see the best way to say it. I work in an alternative school setting. We go through, our kids go through metal detectors every single day. I literally feel like I'm the safest place on campus, because we get the kids that bring guns from other schools or knives from other schools to our campus. So every day we know what we're dealing with. We know, that doors, on guard for doors. Make sure that door is closed behind you. Excuse me, sir, where are you going? When the kids or the parent, no, you can't come up in here this way. You got to go around this way. Like, we are more on alert. And I think that mindset of it only happens in minority communities is why we're here now.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think back to Columbine, they were in trench coats. They knew no one would ever suspect or stop or have a funny feeling about them as Caucasian males carrying out this action. You know, a lot of schools, the front doors are locked. You have to buzz in. You stop at the security door. So at least, if security is hit, there are other options. We can ask who you are and what you're coming for before you enter the building. At this point, I've heard the conversation in political elections during school board election time about the cost of metal detectors. We pay for everything else.
Right.
At this point, if you own a house, property taxes are increasing anyway. Why not pay the extra for those school districts so that we get these metal detectors in the school?
Mm-hmm.
There should be, emergency exit doors only, but those doors need to be manned in the mornings, and we need to be searching these kids. And on the outside perimeter, no one should be coming in. We got curbside delivery. The pizza man should leave the pizza outside on the campuses. No one should be entering the building. Parents aren't even allowed in a lot of these buildings. That is the only way we're going to keep kids safe. We got a state here in Texas where our governor is up for re-election. He's currently up for re-election, but we are in a state where teachers are quitting left and right. Where HISD is so short when it comes to teachers. We're talking about teacher pay. We've gone through COVID. Teachers have died from COVID. Parents hated online. I kept saying online, people were going to regret not staying online because it was a safer place. We didn't have school shootings when kids were at home.
No.
We didn't have it. We didn't have your kids overdosing at school. So there's a variety of reasons why some of these things are coming back to bite us in the butt.
Mhm.
You want teachers to deal with bad behavior? You want them to deal with their lives being on the line every single day with a disease that with a pandemic that we're not getting rid of.
Mhm.
Cases are going back up, right?
Mhm.
And now we're back in the area of, and this isn't the first school shooting in Texas this year. There was an incident in the Dallas Fort Worth area earlier in the school year.
Mhm.
Although that was a more isolated situation with metal detectors, we could have avoided that as well.
Mhm.
So just like we go through TSA, and that wraps back to my point of where I was 20 years ago, we also didn't go through TSA at that time. We adjusted.
Mhm.
You will adjust to your kids going to school with metal detectors. It's for their safety because I don't know what you hold. You don't know what little John next to you got or Karen. Karen
Mhm.
may be mad too. Everybody needs to be safe and protected. Teachers don't need extra duties to worry about. You know what? Today am I gonna have to figure out how to protect 22 kids
Right.
in second grade? Am I gonna have to figure out how to keep 22 kids quiet, get them out of sight, and figure out an extra strategy? Because it
Mhm.
doesn't matter how many times we practice it. As I tell my kids in high school, when it comes that time, everybody got to shut up so the person in charge can make a decision to protect you.
Mhm.
Teachers are putting their lives on the line every day. And all I hear people on Twitter talking about is NRA. Y'all, we don't care about your gun rights. We don't care. But everybody should have access to guns.
I mean, not only that, but not only like the shooting situation, but how many children are getting into actual physical altercations with the teachers, fighting them, harming them, sending them to the hospital. I remember seeing at least 5 videos in the last 2 weeks with students fighting their teachers, the teachers that they see every single day, putting their hands on them, taking their stuff, swiping their desk clean, just being very rambunctious and rude and all around crazy. Like, teachers shouldn't have to go through things like this, but people, period, shouldn't have to go through things like this. What laws, what rules are going to be put in place to make sure these things don't keep occurring? Sadly, probably none.
And we
Probably
got to do something, right? Because we know that the kids can't learn at home because the parents aren't qualified to teach them.
right.
Let's be realistic. And as you said, teachers are not going to keep taking the verbal abuse,
Mm-mm.
the physical abuse, and now every day my safety. Like, am I going to be safe on this job? Is somebody going to decide they want to come up in here and they're just mad today? And how do we protect our kids? Once you worked in the classroom, you have a bond and a connection to your kids. Your kids' safety matters. So
Mhm.
you're willing to sacrifice for these kids. Should my family lose me for protecting other kids who are the same kids that parents don't want metal detectors in the school? That are the same kids who have parents that don't want their NRA rights
Mhm.
compromised in their mind? So
Mhm.
when we look at these things, as you said, that's the reason why, because there's all these arguments on both sides of the aisle where no one can come together.
Right.
At some point, we've got to figure out a common ground because our kids need to be educated.
Right.
I agree. They need to be in the classroom setting. Our kids are behind. But we also need to be safe. The teachers have to be protected. The kids got to be protected. That's going to take the highest form
Mhm.
of working together and not being divided for once in order to get this done. Because as we see, it was just New York last week,
Mhm.
it's Texas this week.
Mhm.
You know, it just continues to happen. It's terrible. Prayers to the families that are getting phone calls, the mothers that had to go to that school to realize their babies were not coming out alive.
To
Y'all, this is
identify
some,
the kids.
put yourself in these people's circumstances. And I think sometimes we're so, well, it ain't me. It didn't happen to me. That
Right.
ain't close to me. I live in California. And
Right.
it doesn't matter where we live. It is literally happening. These kids are depressed. They're angry. They're on
Yep.
drugs. There are a variety of situations that get a kid to hear. This killed his grandmother from the reports that I read.
Yeah.
His grandmother, which means she was probably the one raising him.
And then was allowed in a building in an elementary school with no family there, no, like, it was no reason why he should have been there. So what, how did he get in the school? That's what I keep thinking to myself, like, why and how did he get in?
But if he'd already shot and it sounds like the police were dealing with him, why wasn't the school already on lockdown? So I have questions, but then we talk about the border patrol is the closest police to that area.
Mhm.
So are we not equipped in this town to even handle? Like, it's just
Yeah.
so many questions. And again, we go back to, this is a government level issue. This is your
Yep.
local congressional leaders. This is your school district. I'm
Right.
responsibility that they have to take in this. This is the parents' job, parents to be advocates for your kids and understand why it is important for there to be police presence. These ISD police, I don't know where we're going to get the money from, but there needs to be one on every campus. There
Mhm.
needs to be at least one on every campus because
Mhm.
we don't know who's feeling crazy today. We
Yeah.
just don't know. And it shouldn't be up to a principal to have to figure out how to save everybody.
Right.
So guys, let's send prayers in their direction, prayers to parents who are going to have to bury their babies.
Mhm.
And let's sometimes get out of our own way, as you say. Let's have compassion for other people and stop being so selfish. No one's taking away your guns, but everybody shouldn't be able to get their hands on a gun.
Mhm.
And in 5 years, I'm sick of reporting on these stories. I really am tired of having these conversations.
Yeah.
So, to all the teachers out there, y'all hold on a little longer. A few more days. Let's get through it. For all the kids, if any of y'all are watching, y'all hug your babies. Hug
Mhm.
your babies. And maybe that hug will keep your baby from going off the deep end. Get your kids help.
Yeah.
Get them help. And let's move on to something a little bit more lighthearted so I can smile.
Mhm.
I want to talk Time 100 most influential. Issa
Yes.
Rae's on that list.
Yes, she is.
Issa's on that list. Zendaya's on that list.
Mhm.
Mary J. Blige is on that list. And Quita Bronson from Abbott Elementary
Yes.
is on that
On
list.
the list.
While we're talking elementary, and if you don't know, Abbott Elementary has been all the rage this year. She created a TV show that she developed about working in elementary education and
Mhm.
teachers, the mixed personalities, the
Mhm.
students, teaching styles. So she's on the rise. Issa and Insecure.
Issa,
Um,
we love Issa. We love Issa.
and then Zendaya is, I think they gave us a little bit of everything. They gave us Baby Steps with Zendaya, young,
Mhm.
and Euphoria has been all the rage this year. She's
Oh
done
yeah.
great top tier projects.
Mhm.
Then they threw us in a little, new school with Miss Brunson and Abbott Elementary and what she's
Mhm.
been able to create from that. Issa's, got a little veteran status. And then they gave us the Queen, Mary herself,
Yeah.
and what she's been able to do. And the fact that Mary's got to be 50 ish. And Mary came out of the Super Bowl looking like a snack.
You know, you actually Mary J. Blige is, I think she's over 50.
Now she's 50-ish. I know how old I am, so Mary gotta be 50-ish.
Let me see. She is 51.
Yep.
Yep.
So those are goals.
Mhm.
Goals.
She was looking
And
good at the Super Bowl. I thought she did a good job. I would have liked to hear more songs, but I thought she did a really good job.
I think for where they stuck her in, being that it was like a West Coast Super Bowl,
Mhm.
I think the fact that they even thought about, like, if we need to bring a woman out for representation, who do you bring
Mhm.
out with the legends like Dre and Snoop and
Mhm.
50? You bring out Mary,
Yeah.
I think it was a great salute to her. And
It
it's
was
just
phenomenal.
another example of to be timeless. In everything we want to do, we want to learn um, how to be timeless.
Mhm.
And I think that's what the Time 100 of what our influence has the ability to do. I'm sure most people didn't think Abbott Elementary would be it.
Right.
Excuse me. Not the way, oh, you want to talk about an elementary school? Who wants to watch? because
Right.
we understand pitching and we understand people will shoot your ideas down the drain. Like, girl, get out of here
Oh
with that.
yeah. They won't see the vision.
But people did. And then Issa was an awkward black girl. Like, let me run these web series before people even knew what web series were. Wrote her
Yeah.
book, dropped Insecure, ran 5 seasons, has
Hmm.
now made movies, put black women on. They're
Yeah.
like new talent. We've watched bloom and blossom showrunners because of her.
Hmm.
Because of her. So I think it's pretty dope what we're getting a chance to witness with new young talent. And they're being honored for their work now.
Yeah. So salute to all the queens. I'm excited to see who else is coming up. Like I think that even though some might say that this isn't enough, like we love them but we want to see more. This is a step forward. Like I love to see at least this. Like it gives us hope. It gives us new girls hope. It gives us old girls hope. Like you said, it's representation in all eras and in all genres. I love to see it.
I mean,
Congratulations,
and it's
everyone.
and it's not. I think it's a reminder that I know that one of the things for me in my generation, I think that we get caught up on our age, like, oh my god, I'm getting old. Oh
Hmm.
my god, I'm getting old. Oh my god, I'm getting old. Mary's 51, so
Hmm.
yeah, her success started what, late 30ish,
Hmm.
late 20s, early 30ish. 20 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And to still be relevant. Zendaya is young to be relevant. Issa, like midway in her 30s. It doesn't always happen overnight, but to see them building, as you say, to see the black representation, especially in film, like TV and film, for
Yep.
you to for America to be like, okay, girl, we watching. I feel like we're getting some, what Different World and Living Single did in the 90s is now actually being brought to the forefront.
Yep.
It's on Twitter trending. It's in the front of the magazines. It's a part of Times. So people who would normally be like, "Oh, that's a black show,"
Yeah.
people get
And
on the
it's
what's
not dark.
trending.
It's not a dark show. It's very lighthearted. It's goofy. It's comedy. Some points are uplifting. There's a couple key things that they like to say in each episode. Like it's very light. It's not shunning or bringing darkness or negativity to the Black community whatsoever. And I
But
absolutely
everybody
love
that
that
there's
show.
so many people that are educators, right? That's the thing about
Right.
Abbott Elementary. It doesn't like. I think those are the things when we tell stories from black perspective that's universal is what people miss sometimes.
Hmm.
I think that's what makes me happy. I think
Hmm.
people forget sometimes that we've been watching comedy that didn't relate to us, TV that didn't
Yeah.
relate to us,
Hmm.
reading books that don't relate to us.
Right.
There's no common connection, right? But when you're a teacher, there's a common connection. There's that annoying teacher. There's the
Hmm.
teacher that don't really belong in the classroom because they ain't ready yet.
Right.
There's the teacher that's always skipping out on their duties and their tasks. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of common core elements that she was able to bring together and present a story that people are buying into. I
Hmm.
think, Issa did something for the girls. Like, sis, you
For
gonna act
sure.
like that? Like,
For sure.
Molly, you gonna do Issa like that? Like, Tiffany, get your nose down. Like,
Yep.
those are stories. They were for us. Issa didn't make. It wasn't for you. If you could
Yeah.
get on and ride the rave, fine. But if not, it was for us by us.
Hmm.
I like it. And Mary has become a staple and an icon. But Mary has never changed who she is. Mary is your ghetto auntie.
Yeah, headlining at least once every 2 weeks for her iconic dance moves that she's been doing forever. Yeah,
But it took the internet for us to realize, like, what is Auntie Mary doing?
yeah. Go Mary. That's how it always starts. Go Mary. Go Mary.
But we love it. So we're glad
Good
that
for her.
we love it. We're rooting for them. We're rooting for more of us to make the Times list. Sissy gonna be on that Times list one day. Most influential. We're getting there.
Thank you in Jesus' name. Yes, Lord.
Yes. So then I also noticed we were looking over the weekend. It was trending. Biggie turn would have been 50.
Yes.
Biggie would
This
have
past
been
Saturday, he would have turned 50.
50. Dang, I'm old. I'm old. No, but seriously, I think it was dope that they are forever keeping his legacy alive.
Yeah.
forever enshrining him as a icon and a legend in hip hop for all that he did so quickly because he was it's been 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's been deceased for 25 years because he was only 25 when his album when he dropped the music. So to be relevant 25 years after your death,
Right.
that says a lot about the work that you were able to do while you were alive.
Right.
So let your name speak volumes and leave a legacy.
A legacy, exactly. But I
So
mean, it's also a part of us. Like we keep the name alive as well. We don't let anybody forget. They won't ever let anybody forget about Martin. They're never gonna let anybody forget about Biggie. They're never gonna let anybody forget about Rosa. Like I love that about our community. Is as much as they try to take it out the schools, the education, the websites, whatever, we won't let anybody forget about our people. And so I love that.
but it's good that we're learning how to do that, right?
Yeah.
It's so amazing that we are really making sure their legacies stay alive. Black people had Martin Luther King on the wall for years in their house.
Right.
For years.
Right.
Malcolm X legacy stays alive, and we're telling these stories. So for Biggie to still be relevant in this day and time, for his family and his friends, and I heard little Kim like talking to his daughter, and his
Mm-hmm.
kids are now adults. To be able to look around and say, "Dang, people love my dad!" Like
Yeah.
they literally loved his music, and they loved the man that he was. That says a lot about his character,
Mm-hmm.
your overall character. Will people remember? How will people remember you and talk about you when you're no longer here?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
a lot. So that is that. The other thing is we didn't talk about Rihanna had the baby, a bouncing baby boy.
Yes,
Her and
Riri,
ASAP
the baby
Rocky.
boy. And she
Yeah.
had us for a second. She was up in Target looking at those baby girl clothes, and we for sure thought we were getting a baby Riri. But it's definitely a boy. They need to go ahead and drop the name. I would like to know.
You want to know his name?
Yeah, because the celebrities, they all do kind of like weird names. Like they just kind of pull the names out of a hat or something, and it's nothing ever normal. So I'm just looking forward to what she's contracted, what she's made, thought about.
That will be interesting to see. Interesting to see. And just before we get out of here, we told you a few weeks ago. Well, God, we talked about this story 3 times. We talked about the Kardashian Barker wedding
Yep.
that didn't really happen in Vegas because there was no marriage certificate. We talked about the Kardashian Barker wedding that did happen, and
And
that was
Italy.
the courthouse, it sounds like. And then we saw pictures from the actual Kardashian Barker wedding that happened in Italy,
Yes.
where we saw Kim fly in. We saw video updates that True wasn't in Italy at the wedding. She was in the States with her dad, Tristan.
Mhm.
We saw Courtney come in. We saw Kendall and Devin Booker arrive.
Mhm.
And even there was rumors that Beyonce was in Italy.
Right.
Tell us about it.
They said that Beyonce, which they said that this might be like a Kris Jenner tactic because we know Kris Jenner is good with the publicity thing. They said that it was a rumor started supposedly by Kris Jenner that Beyonce was there. They posted videos of Beyonce and Jay-Z at a celebration in New York that same night. So Twitter was kind of going back and forth, like, hey, 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 because they also Beyonce's bodyguard, which I don't remember his name, but I remember seeing several photos of him and Jay-Z out at this celebration down in New York. So we don't know which side to believe, but of course we're gonna believe the photos. Well, I do. But it's like, Chris, why say that? If you said that, why say that?
Attention. And I was going, I know the Queen Bee is not showing up for Courtney's wedding and didn't show up for Kim's.
Yeah,
I was like, nah, it ain't happening because she didn't go to Kim and Kanye's wedding.
yeah,
So I was like, she's definitely not showing up to Courtney's wedding. Like,
yeah.
I've never seen her and Courtney together. Like,
Right.
I didn't know they were friends. I know like Kim is friends with a lot of Beyonce's friends, Kelly and Lala. Like, there's a whole little group of them. But I
Mm-hmm.
was like, Kris Jenner she's PR.
Mm-hmm.
She knows how to spin it. They know exactly what to do. They let people follow them. It sells. if you can be open and honest and real about your life and up for the scrutiny, you can ride that Kardashian money train.
Yeah.
And the girls were his girls and her girls were all together, and everybody seems happy. So
At this point, Chris should give a class because I would like to know, how are you keeping the Kardashians trending? How is this happening? I swear there's not a time ever where I can get online and not see at least one of them doing something online, saying something online, or going viral for something that they posted, or a video, or the Kardashians reality TV show. Like, there's not a time where I do not see them
it's all
headline.
about global marketing, brand strategy. She's got it.
Give a
She's
class,
got the
Chris.
people and the team in place.
Mm-hmm.
She tells people where they are. Those
Mm-hmm.
photographers in Italy, they were positioned.
Mm-hmm.
Never sleep on Kris Jenner. There's
Mm-hmm.
always a plan on the play. Like, it doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
Like, she is the greatest coach of all times.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because when they're trending, they're making money.
Yeah.
Somebody's following, somebody wants to know. We're talking about it.
Yep.
There's one more person in London following her that wasn't before. She's got the whole Blink. They got Blink 182 fans now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that follows Blink 182 and loves Travis and loves his girls, and his oldest daughter, that's his stepdaughter. It sounds like her daddy is Oscar De La Hoya, which is a boxer. So there's a lot of different
Yeah.
boxes that Kris Jenner goes through and checks and
Right.
plays in her favor.
Yeah.
It's all about playing chess, not checkers.
Give a class, Chris. Please tell us at least one secret. I would like
Okay.
to know for
Okay.
myself.
Invite us to keep up with the Kardashians, honey. I'll come sit with you and learn.
Right.
Put me in your production team. But y'all, we thank you for joining us each and every week here on Pull Up the Podcast. We will be back with part 2. We are talking sports here in a minute to see if pull up if Luke 12 Luca is gonna show up for these
Mm-hmm.
Mavericks tonight. So
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned. Shot Tom Shaw will be joining me. As always, it's your girl Candy K. Lynn.
And it is Coco Shikari.
And until next week, guys, we out.
Bye.
Pull up.